Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I didn't send this. Okay, there we go. How is everyone? Hope you're doing well and that you had a great holiday season, whether it was um, uh, whether you did Christmas or you did some other celebration. I know I had a really good time. It was a very quiet Christmas. But it's always nice to have a couple of days to just relax and watch all those silly Christmas movies. Nothing too exciting this year. Die Hard, obviously, Love Actually. Those are my for sure go-tos. What about you? What's your Christmas movies or holiday movies that you absolutely must watch at this time of year? Um, oh, Happy New Year, Jane. Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, it's been a great year so far. All right, we've got a bunch of topics today. We're going to keep this pretty casual, pretty relaxed. But I wanted to ask you, this is always an interesting one. Do you have any New Year's resolutions? Anything for 2025 that you are um, planning to do differently? I know, as is with most people, I've gotten out of the habit of exercising on a regular basis, and I am going to get back into that. It's not a resolution, not um, a 5-minute plan. It's just something I need to incorporate. I feel better when I exercise. And you guys, you know the thing, right? You exercise, you do it for the first 3 days that you exercise, it's awful. And then on the 4th day, if you decide that's your day off, then by the 5th day, your legs are usually kind of feeling antsy and it's difficult to sit still and not work out. So yeah, it's easy to get into that habit. Happy New Year to you too, Bojangles. Hope you are doing well. Do you have much snow? I'm curious. We didn't get any. It rained a lot, a lot, to the point where we actually had standing water in the backyard. But it's been pretty miserable and dark and awful. But we have been lucky enough that on some of those really terrible days, by mid afternoon, it's bright and sunny. And it's basically like somebody's holding a flashlight in your face because it's impossible to see anything. But I don't mind that. I don't mind if we're gonna have a really yucky day, then at least if it can finish off the day being nice and sunny, then that's all the better. Uh, yeah, Jane watched Love Actually. Yeah, it's a classic, right? You've got to. Um, hey, Proc, how are you? You're gonna travel 2 times per year. Cool. It's always nice to go. We used to always do that, like, when we were working and had limited time off, like, I've been lucky enough that through corporate work and stuff like that, I've always had lots of time off. So, I think when I started, I was at, like, 3 weeks vacation, and then very quickly went to 4 and then 5 weeks, and so on and so forth. We used to always plan to go in the spring when it was yucky, but kind of still getting better. And then in the fall when, basically sitting outside and, chatting with friends was not possible. But yeah, it's nice to break up the crummier seasons that way. Jane says it is snowing in Ottawa right now. Ugh, oh dear. Hey Tammy, how are you? Happy New Year. Bojangles is saying foot of snow. What? -31 tomorrow night. Whoa. I wonder what it is with the wind chill. Okay, then okay, so there's a couple of things on that. With that kind of extreme temperature, this is Celsius, obviously, but Have you done the thing where you take a cup of hot coffee, you walk outside and you throw it into the air and it just becomes it just it doesn't evaporate, but it's like crystallizes. So it's like throwing snow around. My husband did that once. He was on a work trip up, I don't know where, north, and it was cold. Might have been Prince George or Kamloops or something. And yeah, they went outside with a cup of coffee and yeah, it was interesting to say the least. Also, I've seen some pretty cool YouTube videos. There's a guy who actually is from British Columbia, and his YouTube channel was about making. He would make bubbles. He would basically, I think he would create a bubble on a surface, and then he had a macro camera set up to watch it, and it was interesting to see it form all the icicles around it. So take a look if you can find that. If I can find it, I will post it in the video description later on once I do find it. But it was pretty cool if you like that kind of thing. It was beautiful looking, that's for sure. Happy New Year, Proc. How are you? And Bojangles says, no, I don't want to waste coffee. Fair enough. Fair enough. I get it. Yeah. So what other New Year, do you have resolutions, or are you just, I put this in my community post today, and I seem to recall the vast majority said no. Let's just see where we're at right now. Okay. We've only got 10 votes so far. 20% said yes, they're excited to make some new good habits. 40% said not really. January is a good time to get back on track, though. And 40% also said, nope, I am what I am and I'm good with it. So yeah, what about you? Any New Year's resolutions, or do you just not buy into that whole thing? Rather make a life plan instead of a resolution, which generally seems to last for all of about 5 minutes? Let me know. Curious. Also, curious where everyone's going in 2025. You all know, of course, that I'm going on this fabulous Explora Journeys cruise. And that's in 2 weeks' time. Exciting stuff. And then finishing that up in San Juan. And get this, I've got a direct nonstop flight from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. It's like an hour's flight. And yeah, and so I'm excited about that. And then I'm going to spend 2 weeks in Punta Cana after that. So that'll be nice. Going to stay at the Rue Palace Bavaro. And you guys have heard this before, but just reiterating my plans. Would like to do Spain and Portugal next year. Not sure how that will work out. Probably also England will be in there somewhere. Oh, hey, take time to travel. Happy New Year to you guys too. Where are you guys now? And what's your big vacation plans or your travel plans for next year? I'm curious. And Zadie Vegas says, thinking of going to Cabo for the first time. Nice. Where are you planning on staying? Or are you going to do the Airbnb thing? San Jose del Cabo, Cabo San Lucas, both very, very different, but both really interesting in their own ways. San Jose del Cabo, more authentic Mexico, quieter, very interesting downtown area. We're doing an art walk, and I think that's Thursday nights, but double check that. Basically, a lot of the shops open up, and they have wine for you to taste while you're walking around looking at different artwork and galleries and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. Over in Cabo San Lucas, of course, you've got lots of great excursions to do. And of course, one of them being to hop on a boat and go and see the arch. Ideally, you want to do a glass bottom boat. I will tell you, I have been snorkeling. Well, I didn't go in the water in Rarotonga, but I've been in Rarotonga, Cancun. Have I done it? I don't know if I've done snorkeling in Puerto Vallarta. Definitely in Aruba, definitely in the Bahamas, definitely in other areas of the Caribbean. And out of all of those places, Cabo had the most plentiful and colorful fish, and probably because it's a major fishing area, and as the fishing boats come in with their catch, they're usually cleaning the fish, and so there's lots of food in the area for the fish to eat. Oh, the Sandos. Okay, expensive, but I think Tammy would agree. I mean, we've both stayed there, what, a half a dozen times? Um, no, probably more than that. It's built into the hillside. Architecturally, it's gorgeous. Um, if you want the view, but you don't care too much about the room, the lead-in room's the most basic room that you could book. They're old, not gonna lie, they're showing their age, but, oh my god, the view is insane. Take binoculars, because if you are going anytime in the next 3 months, you're very likely to see lots and lots and lots of whales. And that was a sort of sunset thing, is everybody would sit up in the sports bar, which is at sort of the top of the resort, and, they'd sit on the balcony having a drink, having some snacks, they'd bring little nuts and, little bits and bites out to eat, and everybody, you just sit there and you look and see if somebody's pointing somewhere, then, obviously they've spotted a whale. It's so cool. But it's also, it's a really nice resort. It's all inclusive, so you've got everything you need, and it is steps down to the marina where you can walk around, you can see all the fishing boats coming in, and the best thing about that resort is, like, for example, if you're in the buffet restaurant, um, there, you can sit there and you can see the marina, and then if you go to the other side of the resort, like the sports bar or, um, some of the other restaurants, then you can see the ocean, and that's out in front, effectively you're facing due south. Um, so yeah, it's a really neat resort, and you can also see the cruise ships coming in. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Take Time to Travel says they're in Mexico City right now until the end of February, and then Spain for 3 months. Wow. I'm curious. I'm gonna be definitely watching all your videos for that because, like I said, I am looking at hopefully going to, Spain later this year. Spain or Portugal or both. I don't know. I'm good with either one. Yeah, Tammy agrees. Yeah, definitely great location for sure. And the fish tacos by the pool, oh my god, those were amazing. They're like 3 or 4 different kinds. They're fresh, 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 and absolutely delicious. So yeah. Oh, I watched my Santos video. Cool. Yeah, no, it's a solid choice for sure. Yeah. So, I don't know, and where's another place? I'd like to do more Europe actually, because that's something that through the years, booking travel, and doing much less of booking travel and more talking about travel now. Um, but especially because I used to do a lot of destination weddings. I mean, that was number 1 for me. And, it was very rewarding, very difficult, very challenging, when you've got a group of 40 guests trying to book in for a wedding. You gotta be available all the time, and invariably, you could have nothing happening for an entire week and then plan that on the Thursday, you've got an appointment and a meeting, and you want to take the afternoon off and go shopping or just sit around and watch Netflix and do nothing. And that'll be the day that somebody decides they need to change their trip. They want to add a day. They want to change something. They broke up with their boyfriend. They broke up with their girlfriend. They got a new boyfriend. They got a new girlfriend. And, and instantly everybody wants this all taken care of. So traveling to Europe and places where there's a significant time change was very difficult because people would be like, call me back. And well, I'm in the middle of sleeping. So now I'm excited about sort of having that freedom to be able to travel more. So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, I know Tammy's done some pretty amazing trips in Europe. And of course, the other thing is I want to go before all the tourist stuff shuts down. Like in Rome, there's a lot of things where, there's really restricted on what you can do, when and where, like eating and, uh, stuff like that. There's no crowds at certain times. Venice, same thing. And really, a lot of this is the cruise ship people who come into port, they offload, they're walking around everywhere. That's great. They're taking pictures. That's great. But they're not putting any money into the local economy. All they're doing is really just crowding it. And so a lot of this towns have just said enough. I mean, we love it here when it's a cruise ship day, especially when there's like 3 or even 4 ships in at the same time. But that's only for a few months of the year. I mean, they start off, the first one will be, I think, April. It starts off this year. And then at the end, it's usually October. Again, they do the repositioning cruises, usually from Mexico, or even coming through the Panama Canal they usually are doing the Caribbean or Mexican Riviera in the winter months. And then they'll come back around and head up to Vancouver, and then start off in usually April. Seattle might go a little bit longer. I'm not sure. Seattle, here, look, a little sidebar conversation. If you're looking at doing an Alaska cruise, if you want to be on a big ship, then you're going to have to sail out of Seattle, because the big ships, they literally cannot. We had the new, was it the Joy or the Bliss? I think those are the sister ships. I sailed on the Joy during its inaugural. Was it the Joy? Tammy, remind me, what were we on for that one? But one of the big ships. But we cleared the Lionsgate Bridge is our big bridge that goes from Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, over to North Vancouver, and it looks very similar to the San Francisco Bridge. I have no words today, folks. So feel free to help me out on this. I guess I didn't even have champagne last night. But yeah, for whatever reason, those words are gone. But anyways, the bridge in San Francisco, very similar to the Lionsgate Bridge here in Vancouver. But ours is, of course, is a lot lower. And so it doesn't have the clearance for the big ships, Norwegian Joy. Okay, I was close. Or did it? Anyways, I'm getting confused. I'm confusing myself now. So we cleared it with what? About, I think it was 1.5 meters. I mean, okay, that's the spires of the antennas and stuff like that. But I mean, and they had to go at low tide. And it was all very, very coordinated. But here's the thing. If you sail out of Vancouver and you're going up to Alaska, then you will sail between Vancouver Island and the mainland. So you're going up the coast, but on the inside of Vancouver Island. And you're not always going to see land, but most of the time you're going to see land until it hits the top of Vancouver Island. And then it's still going in and around the islands, but it's a lot calmer. I've gone to Alaska. I've only cruised to Alaska once, but I sailed out of Seattle, which was a critical area for me because I do get motion sickness. And those bands and whatever, none of that works. Not for me anyways. So yeah, we cruised from Seattle. Seattle has to go around Vancouver Island. And if you've never sailed on the West Coast, you should know that we get those corkscrew waves where you're doing this, and it's just disgusting. You're sitting there having breakfast, and you can see the window kind of do this, and then up and then down, and then like it's just not good. Seriously, no bueno. And most of the ship on that particular cruise, it was very, very rough seas. Most of the lineup for customer service was like 50 people long, and they were handing out motion sickness pills like Tic Tacs. And actually, I think I've told you guys this before, but that's where we ended up going into Juneau, Alaska. We ported in there at like 2 a.m., which cost the ship, the cruise line, $250,000. $250,000 just to go in early, but that's because they had to wake up everybody to come to the port, make sure everything was done safely. But the captain did it because it was you couldn't walk. You looked like you were drunk. 5-year-olds walking down the hallway looked like they were drunk because you're just slamming into the sides of the room, the hallways. So yeah, pro tip: If you're going to do an Alaska cruise, do it out of Vancouver. But anyways, I digress. Shocker. Because we only have the cruise ships in for a few months, April, like I said, starts off, and then the October, it's pretty much done. So really you're talking, May, June, July, August, September. Even September, they're starting to peter off. So we don't have as many, we don't have year-round cruise ships coming in. Whereas imagine if you were a port like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, not a day goes by that they don't have ships coming and going. So I can imagine that could get a bit tedious. Oh, there we go. The Golden Gate. I knew it was something gate. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Otherwise I would have woken up at like 2 a.m. Golden Gate. That's those elusive things. So yeah, that's me. But let me know if there's anywhere else that you guys are going or want to go. Maybe you have hopes to go somewhere, but it might not happen. I'm good with that too. Because you got a dream, got a plan, right? Okay. Now this is I don't know. Let me know for those of you who are watching from elsewhere. Oops. I am curious. Like Proc, I think you're in Chicago. I know you're in the US. Bojangles, Tammy, you guys are Canadian. Jane, obviously Ottawa. And anyone else? Angelo, if you're watching, I know you're in Chicago. I'm curious. So just found this out. Pro tip. Another pro tip. Should have called this pro tip say. If you go to here in Canada and specifically in BC, we can get a library card, public library. Library cards are free. When you have a library card membership, you can also access the library online. And I have not yet gotten my library card. I did not have time to do that before. Oh, Boston. Okay, gotcha. So let me know if this is a case for you there in Boston as well. With the public library, if you have a library card, again, it doesn't cost you anything to get one. This gives you access to all kinds of resources, including things like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journey. So any of these newspapers that have a pay gate with a library card, it's my understanding, like I said, I haven't got mine yet, but it's my understanding that you can go in and you can read all these periodicals that would normally cost you money, and that it's at no charge. Also, lots of language courses. So you can get ebooks, like just regular ebooks, or you can do language courses. A friend of mine, he used to always take out a bunch of CDs because he was trying to learn German, and he didn't. Actually, it was enough to have a basic conversation, which is impressive in my opinion. But it's another way that you can learn languages. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to know. And I need to brush up on my Spanish. Or need to. So, I've tried lots of different things. I tried Makes You Fluent. That sucked. I've done Duolingo, and that's good. It's fairly similar to Rosetta Stone. But the process is a bit janky. Because you learn things in clusters, like you learn travel words, and then you learn clothing words. But I tell you what, if you don't know, Spanish is so difficult because everything has it's male or female. So you've got earbuds. Are these masculine or feminine, first of all? And then if it's mine, like if and I don't even know these things, but if I say yo quiero earbuds, whatever they are in Spanish, yo quiero being I want, but then if you want it, then it's like tu queremos, I don't know. And then there's the I tense, there's the you tense, there's the we tense, there's the your tense, or like they, us, they. And each of those is so for every verb, there are like 4 or 5 versions of it. I know one version. and that's fine, but it would be kinda nice, don't like, wouldn't it be nice to, and once you've learned a second language, apparently it is like piece of cake to start learning others. Because look, Spanish, French, Italian, they're all similar. I mean, I'm sure if you were Italian and I said that Spanish is similar, you'd be like, "No, it's not." But there are some similarities, right? So I think you can probably bridge it a bit better. Oh, Tammy's trying to learn Spanish on Duolingo. Yeah. Well, and then the fun thing is, which they don't tell you, is there like there's Mexican Spanish, and then there's Dominican Spanish, and then there's like, depending if you're going into Central America and they speak Spanish there, there's all kinds of different versions. So for example, oh yeah, 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 just like French class in high school. I mean, I know now they offer kids can learn Spanish, which for me would have been far more useful. But or just would have suited my needs more. I mean, selling destination weddings and trips to Mexico and going there all the time and having work meetings would have been a little bit useful to have had a much better command of the Spanish language, but we it is what it is, right? Um, but yeah. Oh yeah, so where I was going with that. So straw, like a drinking straw, in Spanish is popote. In sorry, in Mexico, a drinking straw is popote. In the Dominican, a straw is sorbete. Uh, so like, there's no guide on this. I suppose I could probably Google it or something. I don't know, but it makes it awfully tricky when you're like, and especially like, hey, great, I actually know a word. So yo quiero un popote, or could be una. I don't know. Um, and they look at you like you're speaking Yugoslavian. Um, and it's like, well, I know, and I know that's a Spanish word. It's a real word, but no, they they say sorbete. So yeah, that's kind of a tricky one. And I don't think you're gonna learn that on Duolingo because Spanish is Spanish when it comes to Duolingo. So you just gotta watch out for those things. But anyways, I was surprised and curious. And Proc, let me know if you belong to your public library, if that's the case there, if you have if the libraries have things like language courses and stuff like that that you can do that are complimentary. I'm curious. Tammy sing. Oh, there we go. Mexico, something else that sounds very close to popote, which I have asked for. Oh. Okay, I don't know what word that is, like what your other word is that's similar, but I'm sure you'll enlighten me next week or separately via message. But yeah, that's a tricky one too when you're saying an innocent word, or you're saying a word innocently, and it turns out you might actually be saying a bad word. Parents around are like, "Oh, cover your ears." But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. And I mean, look, anytime you can take a course for free is a good thing. Flight compensation, flight delay compensation. Okay, this is a Canadian thing, which would affect you potentially if you're flying in or out of Canada, or if you're flying domestically in Canada. And actually, I just read that as of last year, for North America, the most traveled route out of all of North America, most passengers over the course of the year, the route was Vancouver, Toronto, or Toronto, Vancouver. Um, Surpassed, was it Atlanta to Orlando? Yeah, surpassed any of those. So yeah, pretty big route. And of course, if you were flying from, I mean, if you're in Boston, New York, or whatever, you could, if you wanted to go to Hawaii, you could fly hop, hop, hop to Seattle, or you could fly to Toronto, Vancouver, Hawaii. So that's an option. But what's happening is the government has proposed some changes to the compensation. Oh, what's this? Bojangles is saying, call them little animals, and agouti. And in Cancun, they laughed at me. Don't know what they call it, but that's what Google called it. Yeah, agouti, kuate, I think, is another one. It's weird because, yeah, again, like you said, you think you nailed it, right? Like, okay, I got this. I know the word, I know how the pronunciation. Like, no, you're wrong. So keeps it interesting, I guess. Okay, Jane is saying, so this is in Ottawa. Our library has Hoopla, which is great for audiobooks, which also offer language courses, magazines, etc. Wow. Okay, well, so this is interesting. I'm going to make a note of that. Hoopla. Because when I went through ours, and the amount of things that were available was shocking. Like, there were just so many things that we had access to. So I'm curious. I've always been very inquisitive, and I'm curious. Like, what else can we access? Yeah. Anyways, going back to this flight delay compensation. So what the government has proposed is that instead of it being, well, if it's the airline's fault, then this. If it's something else, if it's a delay of so many hours, then this. And if it's because of some reason outside of the airline's control, and there's a massive snowstorm and the flights are all canceled, then they have to put you on another flight, or they have to give you your money back, or you can get a refund, or you can, blah, blah, blah. What they're proposing is pretty straightforward, and it's basically just if the flight's delayed or canceled for any reason, then they have to rebook you, and they have to give you compensation in the form of like a hotel voucher and or compensation. And it means that if if there's an air traffic control strike or job action or whatever, and they're causing delays, if there's an issue on the tarmac, if there's a bird strike causing an issue such as the crash the other day, if there's a big storm, whatever, these things have nothing to do with the airline. Got nothing to do with Air Canada or WestJet or whomever you're flying. But that airline is going to have to pay for all this stuff. So if you are, and I don't know if it's all airlines flying into Canada, all airlines flying out of Canada. I'm not 100% sure about that, but suffice it to say, at least for domestic flights, if these are costs that are going to have to be incurred by the airlines, our flight prices are going to go up to even more tragic rates than they already are. I mean, it's a 5-hour flight from here. No, it's not. It's about a 6-hour flight from here to Cancun, and flights are usually $400 or $500 each way. From here to Vancouver, from here to Toronto, $600-$700. Why? Mostly because of our airport taxes. But then again, like I said, if you're going to add these extra costs to the airlines, I mean, there's got to be the airlines obviously are pushing back on this, but they got to pass the cost on somehow, right? So who are they passing it on to? Us. Okay, so Jane's saying, so this is the Hoopla thing is free. And Proc is saying, my local library has transparent language online. Also has Hoopla. Oh, cool. I'm definitely going to check out that Hoopla thing. Jane's saying, yeah, also fiction, nonfiction. And Bojangles is saying, oh, it might be Mango for languages online at libraries in BC, like Saskatchewan. Well, that would be cool too. And everybody's got a different way of learning, like, the different ways work better for some people than others. Um, yeah, honestly, what I'd love to do is just pack up one year and go and spend 3 months in Mexico, and, maybe not 3 months because, uh here in Canada, or for example, here in British Columbia, we're allowed to be outside of our home province for, I think it's 6 months less a day. If we're outside for longer than that, then we lose our um, British Columbia health coverage, our medical services coverage, which is currently free. Um, In, I think Ontario, they're allowed to be away, I think it's 7 months, maybe even 8 months, I don't know, and they still retain their benefits, but here's the crux of it all. If for us here in BC, obviously, you wanna travel with emergency medical insurance. I mean, a friend of mine got sick a couple weeks ago in Mexico, ended up having to be hospitalized because she had the flu so bad, would've cost her $5,000. Um, as it was, she had booked her insurance. She used the insurance through a different source than normal, and she had to pay out of pocket for it. So she's okay, she's got money, but, it's still $5,000 sitting on your credit card that you didn't expect. But here's the other thing. When you buy travel medical insurance, it is almost 99% of the time, incumbent on you having local coverage. At least this is how it is for us in Canada. So in my scenario, if I go away for more than 6 months, let's say I decide I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spend a year in Mexico and really, like, dig in and learn the language, which I think full immersion is the best way to learn it. Um, Plus you learn all the bad words. So you know which ones to say and which ones not to say unless it's the right time to say it. But, if once I've been away for more than 6 months, then my emergency medical coverage would be null and void. So it's tricky. But, yeah, I mean, that would be ideal, is to just go and tuck in, live somewhere, not necessarily in the local areas. And of course, it is habit to then seek out other people who speak English natively. So, you're gonna, even in Mazatlan, I'm in one of the Mazatlan expat Facebook groups, and it's people who live in Mexico. They're Canadians, and and they go down there to live, which why not? I mean, the cost of living is like peanuts compared to here. And then they end up hanging out with other Canadians, which I get it. I totally get it, and that's just instinctive for us, to seek out those people that we have um, some things in common with. But, yeah. So anyways, stay tuned on this, flight delay compensation issue. And like I said, it may impact, if it impacts airlines that are flying into Canada or out of Canada. So for example, we have, United, Delta, um, all of them, they all fly into Canada. If it's gonna impact them as well, then, overall it's going to increase prices. And it's probably gonna mean that a lot of them won't do flights into here. They'll do something alternative. Hey, Barbara, how are you? Happy New Year. Yeah, exactly. Always good to join. And hi to everybody who usually watches later. I know Elizabeth, Deb, you usually watch later on, Christine sometimes. Um, Maybe Angelo, don't know where he is because he's traveling all the time. But thanks for tuning in. Okay, next topic. Okay, this caught my eye. And okay, so according to Club Med, they were the first all-inclusive concept. They had the first concept. And you recall, I think you had a necklace and it was different beads, and if you wanted a drink, you had to trade a bead for a drink or something. I don't really know how it works. I've never stayed at a Club Med. I thought about it, I looked at it. I would have liked to have learned more about it. But even as a travel agent, in order to oh, you're here. Hey, Christine. How are you? Um, yeah, so I mean, even as a travel agent, I could literally call up any resort in Mexico and say, hey, I'm a travel agent, and I do videos. I'd like to come and, do as they call them, site inspections. So basically doing a tour, usually with one of the sales managers, salespeople. They walk you around the resort. They'll show you maybe a lead-in room, maybe a posh room. They'll show you, the spa, the pool areas, the restaurants, the basics, kind of what you might like as a traveler if you're going to an area and you thought, I really like this area, not too thrilled with the hotel, kind of like the look of that one, and that one over there looks good, but I don't really know what it looks like. It could be a garbage dump inside, or it could be like amazing, but it doesn't look quite as good on the outside. So that's what these tours kind of things do. Well, contacted Club Med, especially the one in Cancun, because it's just at the end of the strip. And they wanted me to pay money to go and have a tour there. And I'm like, yeah, no. Which apparently is a Canadianism. Yeah, no. Oh, hey, Howard, how are you? Say to our replay. Yeah. Happy New Year to you too. Um, yeah. So I only know what I know about Club Med through anecdotal information from other people and what I've been able to research. And like, for example, the one in Cancun, where's my tab that's open here, has here's the thing that I specifically do not like about them. And I know they're kind of trying to get into like wellness and stuff like that, and that's great. Um, but for me, if you watched any of my videos, you know that food is a pretty major driver for me. I mean, it just boggles the mind because of the small, tiny amounts that I eat. But when I what I do eat, I want it to taste good. And so, for example, Club Med Cancun, and this is not dissimilar to their other properties, but this one in particular, they've got a buffet open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have a specialty restaurant which has various things, and I don't even oh, okay. Could be during the day and the evening, not sure. They've got another specialty restaurant, which is a taco restaurant. Yeah, well, taco restaurant beach lounge, and that is I think that's just lunch and oh no, breakfast through dinner. Okay, so you kind of have a buffet and sort of two a la cartes, and then you've got a creperie, which is light snacks during the day, and that's it. So right there, that's a resort that I'm not going to go to because I want more than look. I very rarely would eat at a buffet for dinner. Just not my cup of tea. Although I'll tell you what, on the Explora Journey cruise that we're doing, that I mean, stay tuned because I'm already kind of blown away and I haven't even experienced it yet. Um, it's not cheap, but I think it's going to be worth every penny. Angelo, how are you? Happy New Year. Taco Art. Okay, so I'm guessing have you stayed there? Have you stayed at Club Med Cancun? If so, I'm curious. To me, it sort of strikes me as the three-star experience. Like nothing more, nothing less. Solid three-star. The rooms are a little bit like stark looking, very basic, very, very basic. Um, cheap and cheerful, we would call it. But then comparable to what? An Oasis category of resort. Oasis being just in Cancun, but there's like 5 of them in Cancun. And those have always been the sort of 20-something spring break hotels. And honestly, once you've traveled a lot and been to a lot of different hotels, you're raising the bar for yourself. That's why I'm saying, this cruising on Explorer is probably going to cruise me. It's going to wreck me for any other cruise line, which is unfortunate, but we'll see. Okay, has been there a couple of times. So let's just compare it to, for example, Hyatt Vivid, because a few of us on here have been, and compared to a Hyatt Vivid, if you said, let's not do out of a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being terrible, disgusting, 2 being bad, but not like horrific, and 3 being your basic, your McDonald's level of resort, and then 4 being, more like, I don't know. I'm trying to think what you guys have: keg, Outback, steakhouse kind of thing, and then 5-star being gourmet, like a proper expensive steakhouse. And yeah, to me, I would, so out of sort of that scale, out of 1 to 5, there I would put Vivid probably, I would say a 4, verging on 5. And again, just, it's not, the location is the biggest detractor because it's not on the beach. But it's certainly, they've done a lot to compensate. So I'm curious where in that you think they're comparing. Okay. So saying it's a very large property and cater to a different crowd and activities. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're even trying, they've got an all-inclusive in Quebec, in Canada, and it's a ski resort. Again, I wasn't wowed by the fact that they only had, like, I think 2 restaurants. Oh, the other thing I never used to like about them is it was all like community dining, like community tables, and kind of like with a cruise ship, how, it used to be standard that you'd go on a cruise, and unlike a resort where you've got people coming and going every day of the week, on a cruise, you're on it, right? Like, it's, you might be doing a back-to-back cruise. You might be doing a 7-day Eastern Caribbean and then a 7-day Western Caribbean, but this first segment, that 7 days, you're all in it together. And if they put you at a big table, like, you can say you want to sit at a table of 8 to 10, and then they'll randomly seat you, and then that's usually your table for the entire week. So you're eating with strangers the whole week. I guess, you have your shared experiences because you are all in it together. You're cruising, you're going to the same ports, you're experiencing the same weather, you're experiencing the same calm or rough seas, any dolphin sightings, that kind of thing. But to me, for the Club Med experience, I did not like that. I want to, like, if I'm going somewhere with my husband, I want to sit with my husband. I don't need to meet new people and make new friends. I mean, I will, because I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy when I come to resorts, hence chatting up with Angelo when we were both in Hyatt Vivid. But I don't know, to me, that was off-putting. And again, the one in Quebec, I mean, you can ski, that's all included. You can snowboard, it's all included. You can eat, it's all included. You can drink, it's all included. And for the price, considering what normally would be a very expensive for ski or snowboarding rentals, as well as lift passes, it's actually not a bad deal. Like, it's pretty affordable. So it's something to take a look at. It's just that you do have to kind of take a step down in terms of that whole experience. Okay, Angela, I'm carrying on too much here. So Angela, who's actually been to the Club Med, is saying food-wise, it's about a 3, maybe 2.5 star. Yeah, okay. Okay, now Christine is saying food was a solid 4. Oh, yes. Oh, Angela, this is worth noting for you. So Christine was telling me that since they did the official grand opening in October, they've expanded all of the menus. In fact, she was telling me there's teppanyaki on the Asian menu. Now, it's not show cooking, but they're doing teppanyaki style cooking. So there's quite a few different things on the menu now. So, that's definitely going to improve things. Yeah. Oh, you're going back in April. Right. You mentioned that before. You did. I have noticed the Club Med caters to Europeans. Yes. And the French, 100%. We had a French woman who, with one of the agencies that I was working with, she came in and was trying to help out with sales targets or not sales targets, but help us meet their specific sales targets and stuff like that that the company had set. And she was very, she was very, very, very pro Club Med. Couldn't understand where we were selling it, and it's like that's not something that's going to be desirable by majority of people on the West Coast. Just you got to know your markets, right? Like very specific, yeah, just different desires and wants and needs from different people. Yeah, yeah, church mouse, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it was all good. Howard's saying they stayed at the Breezes in Huatulco. Oh, yeah, which was Club Med at one time. I don't think it was ever updated much, and the rooms were awful. Oh dear, almost like a barracks. Ew, no balcony and dark wood paneling. Yeah, and that's exactly what I saw when I looked at the website for Club Med. It was like, you know, I mean, okay, look, I stayed at Dream Sands in beginning of October when it was going on that social media trip. And, I mean, I had a room that didn't have a balcony. Would I choose to stay in that room for longer than one night? No. But it'll fill the gap. And I have never stayed at that property. I've been to it many times, but I've never stayed at it. So that from that perspective, it was fine. But I want a balcony. I want a balcony and I want an ocean view. And if I can't have an ocean view, I do at least to the bare minimum want to have a balcony so that I can sit outside, listen to the birds and, just whatever. But I had heard really good things about Le Breezes, actually, and I forget who it was. Oh, there was a woman who she used to comment all the time on the channel. And I hopefully nothing's happened to her, but I haven't heard from her in a long time. And she was talking about that property and saying how it's like the way it's laid out, it's very pretty. But I mean, I stayed at Dreams in Huatulco, which is right beside the Barceló. And the Barceló is a very, very pretty property, but it was empty. Meanwhile, Dreams was sold out, like 100%. And I mean, by 7:15, if you didn't have a lounge chair, forget it. Forget it. So yeah, that was interesting. And it was also that was during COVID. So it wasn't like I could go and visit other hotels. It was just like strictly not allowed. But whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, so I think the Club Med, they're saying that it's gaining popularity. Like Angelo said, maybe with the Mediterranean market, maybe with Quebec as a province, maybe, but just for the vast majority, the restrictions on the dining options or the limited dining options, I think, are the biggest downside there. But it's on a nice beach. But that end of the Cancun Strip is known for its riptides. I mean, yeah, so you've got to be careful and people, yeah, whatever. But I mean, like somebody drowned when I was staying at one of the resorts down there. Too many drinks, went out too far. Lifeguard was yelling at them, and they couldn't get back in, and that was it. So rest in peace, tragic, but, so you got to kind of pick and choose your areas. It's like going to Cabo. Go to Cabo. You don't be expecting to swim unless you're staying at the Breathless, or you're staying at the Rue, and you're gonna recall that fun walk we did, Tammy. It was hotter than you could even imagine. And we were walking back to the resort. We'd gone to Medano Beach. We'd done the glass bottom boat thing and gone to see the arch. And we got to Medano, and I'm sure I was being too cheap to take a taxi and probably dragged Tammy back to the resort. And then this like rogue wave came in, and we were being smart. We had beer in hand so we could stay hydrated. And this rogue wave came in, and we almost fell over and got like, oh, like we didn't get pulled out or anything, but we weren't paying attention as well as we should have been. And, my beer's full of like seawater and sand. It's awful. But, if you go to a place like Cabo, you got to know you're going to be swimming in the pools and that's it. Or you go to Medano where it's safe to swim. Obviously the rogue wave came in once we were past Medano, between Medano and the Rio. But yeah. Oh, how is Breathless in Cabo? I have it on short list to visit and the secrets there as well. Well, I mean, I've been to secrets. I haven't stayed there. Tammy has, so she could speak more to that. Breathless in Cabo, I've actually stayed at several times, more because of a convenience factor, location than anything. Howard, you were mentioning about the Sandos. The rooms at Breathless are very, very modern. So Angela, you would love that. It's got the tablet, you order your room service. We were in Preferred Club, or their version, which is Exhale. And we were ordering spicy jalapeno margaritas to the room, sitting there and enjoying the view. The balconies are all immediately overlooking the marina, which on the positive side is great because you can see all the fishing boats coming in. You can see all the flags. You can Google to find out what's everybody catching? Oh, Dorado today, wahoo, wahoo, whatever. But you got to know that at 5 in the morning, when they're 6 in the morning, when they're out there prepping the boats to take tourists out fishing, deep sea fishing, you hear all that noise. So that's a downside. The building's a weird layout because the resort is 2 buildings and the pools are very, what's the word? Geometrical, I guess. Like they're all rectangles, and there's no like sort of soft corners to the pool, no flowing pools. But both pools are infinity pools. Food over the years has been hit and miss. But I think, that's pretty normal as you go through different management or different chefs, that kind of thing. But certainly a lot of different options and choices available. But location is the best thing because you walk from the resort, you walk down the steps to the public walkway around the marina, and if the marina is a horseshoe, Sandos is almost at the end of the southwest corner of the U of the Cabo Marina, and Breathless is at the opposite corner. And so you can easily walk from there down to the bars and the shops and everything. So it interestingly is, if you do enjoy going for an evening stroll, but you don't necessarily want to take a taxi to go to the downtown area, wherever you are, not dissimilar to if you were staying downtown Cancun, where you could, you can walk around downtown, because it's lit and, it's not much, you feel safe. But yeah, sorry. So comments, everybody's commenting while I'm blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah. So Tammy said, yeah, Breathless in Cabo, best location, great view from the infinity pools, watching the fishing boats. Definitely. Christine saying, would love to go back to Cabo. Oh, LeBlanc was spoiled me. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We did back to back. So I did, what was it? It used to be the basic Sunscape. God, what is it? The Crystal Los Cabos in San Jose del Cabo. So I stayed there for one night. Then I went to LeBlanc for 2 nights. Then I went to Gran Vilas for 2 nights. And then I went to Hyatt Ziva rather, Los Cabos for 2 nights, I think it was. And out of those, probably anywhere that I've ever stayed, I think LeBlanc was the most posh, the most best food ever. I love the fact that the coffee shops have little chocolates and stuff like that, and that's all free. It's just included. And you have a butler on every floor, and the Bulgarian amenities, the toiletries. Oh, love it. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So Tammy's reacting to my story about the walk. Yeah, worst walk ever. Oh, you talked about that when you were on Medano last week. Yeah, Medano's great. But, yeah, walking on that sand is like walking in powder snow. You take a step, and as you normally, you would take a step and then push forward and then take another step, but as you push forward, your foot slides back. So, it's like you're doing a moonwalk forward. You're making 0 progress. So yeah, it's, not great, yeah. So Tammy's saying she liked the secrets in Cabo, a little more isolated. Yes, definitely. Great layout. Beach area wasn't appealing, but that was years ago. Yeah, the beach area is more like more deserty and austere, I want to say. But I mean, when I was at the resort, and I've only been there once, and it was on a tour, and we were there at sunset, and I have to say it was absolutely stunning, like stunning architecture, everything about it. Modern resorts. Have you been to Breathless Soul, Angelo? Because I gotta say that that one, I mean, I love tech, I love gadgets, and that one was absolutely amazing for me. That was the trickiest resort I've ever been to. I would love to go back there and just have a week and enjoy the convenience. I mean, you could use your phone as the remote control. You could use your phone apparently to unlock the door. I didn't figure out how to do all that stuff because our trip got cut short because of the hurricane. But yeah, um, crazy. So yeah, well, I've 2 years ago. Oh, okay, and I missed this. Christine says, um, seems to need a makeover, at least in the rooms. Well, I mean, it's probably 10 years old. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if it's a popular resort, then it's gonna be if it's, say even call it 80% occupancy year round, then, it's just gonna have wear and tear, right? So yeah. Um, so look at this, and I've already yacked away for an hour. It's always such fun talking with you guys and chatting about travel and each of us, sharing, where we've been, where we're going, and what we think of different properties. Christine, thank you again. She wrote me, sent a separate email giving me her thoughts on the Hyatt Vivid, and I pretty much agreed with everything she said about the resort. And it's got some shortcomings, but it's got other aspects that are really good. So yeah, and yeah, it's just interesting hearing your perspectives on things because we're all different people and we have different wants and needs and desires, and so it's interesting to hear. Um, what you think of different things. Again, like I'm the only person I think ever who has said that the least favorite restaurant that I had at the Hyatt Vivid was the Asian restaurant. And even Christine's like, I love it. So what can I say? Sometimes I don't quite have my finger on the pulse of what everyone would want. But, just tell you what it is, what it's like, and you decide for yourselves. So it was 2024 was great, but I'm really looking forward to 2025 for a great travel year and yeah, and lots more travel chats. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We are back next Wednesday, same time as usual. And then the week after that, where are we? Week after that, we'll be coming to you live from, oh my gosh, it's just less than 2 weeks. Tammy, less than 2 weeks. We are going on this cruise. So we will I will be going live from the ship. So I'm going to show you, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what the Wi-Fi is like, but we will endeavor to, I'll be on the ship and I'm going to go live. I'm not 100% sure on the time. So watch for that because I don't want it. So 10 a.m. that's 1 p.m. It's probably going to have to be an earlier time because I want to show you the ship and I can't show, me. I'm not going to be filming other people. It's not right. It's not cool. So I might do it earlier so that I can walk around and find some less populated areas so I can show you what the pools look like and stuff like that. I think visually, is my little walk around going to wow you? Maybe not, but I think talking about the experience is what is going to be the shocker. So we shall see. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it totally depends on whether the chef's having a good night or not. But yeah, or if it's a backup chef, right? Because they don't work 7 days a week. Ports we're sailing to include. Well, let me get rid of my thing because that's easier. We are going to. Where's our itinerary? So we start off from Miami. We go to St. Thomas, St. Bart's, Guadeloupe, and then St. Martin on the Marigot side. It's a tender. So we have 2 tenders, St. Bart's and Marigot. I've never been to St. Bart's and I've never been to Guadeloupe, so I am very much looking forward to that. Yeah, and Tabby Singh as well. Oops, there we go. Excited to be on this explorer ship. Yeah. It's going to destroy us for any other cruise line, but whatever. It is what it is. So, yeah, visiting. How are you able to type that so fast? Seriously. Oh my goodness. It types like 1 million words a minute. Yeah, so that's going to be really exciting. I'm undecided if I want to just hop in a taxi and go straight to Maho Beach and see the planes coming overhead, or if I just want to hang out in Marigot. I think either would be great. Or it's a tender, so might just stay on the ship and enjoy the extra space to myself. I don't know. Hard to say. Yeah. And that's the thing that I do like about Explora is some of because it's a smaller ship, it's only a maximum of 1,000 passengers. So because it's a smaller ship, they go to different places than the big, large cruise ships go to. So it should be fun. So yeah, 2 weeks from now, coming at you live from sea. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and thanks for your comments. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit that like button, please. Or if you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. I'm okay with either one. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great week ahead. I hope you're not feeling too rough from last night. Thanks again, and we will see you next